Okay, so shalom. So what do we do? How do we run our kitchen during the Shmita? That's the topic of the shir. There'll be maybe some complimentary remarks regarding things that were that arrived last week's shir. Okay, so first of all, what are the things that we need to pay attention to when we buy? I'll make now just a brief introduction, information, and then of course, if there'll be, like last week, it was mamish, mostly Q&A. Here I decided I'll start with some general overview, and then we will continue from there. So, first of all, what kind of, what are the things that we should be concerned about when we're buying produce, vegetables and fruits? One can add flowers, we'll speak about it later, but mainly vegetables and fruits during Shmita, starting from 2.5 weeks or something like that from now. So the first of all, what are the things that we said that we're not allowed to work on the fields, and we're not allowed also to take we're allowed to take fruit, but only in a certain in the amount for eating, because it's not really ours. Rav Rimon really says that even for chumrah, when you're, let's say, in your garden, taking off fruit that is kadosh b'kedushat shvit, that you should do also a little shinui, but Rav Melamed doesn't require it, and also Rav Rimon also kinds of understands that it's a chumrah. I think that sometimes the main shinui, let's say, according to the Rambam, is the quantity. Okay, the main thing is that you're not doing it as an owner, but you're doing it as just like a regular visitor who just because the field is hefker. I said last week something that could have been misleading, so it's important that this is recorded. Hopefully everyone that was last week will listen to this thing, but I said something that maybe might have been misinterpreted. It was in an answer, I think, to David's question regarding what fruits are kadosh b'kedushat shvit, okay? So I said, and that was right, that what counts for the definition, whether the fruit is holy in Kedushat Shvit or not, is whether the time that is, the critical time is not the time of the taking it from the field, the collecting it from the field. This is true regarding vegetables, meaning a vegetable that grew up this year, mainly this year. You know what? It's even ready to be cut from the field 2 days before Rosh Hashanah. But I didn't do it. And I picked it up 2 days after Rosh Hashanah. This vegetable is only b'kedushat shvit. Why? Because for vegetables, what counts is that what we call the lekita, the collecting. The collecting is that if it was collected in the 7th year, it's only b'kedushat shvit. If it wasn't collected during the meaning the same thing, it grew up. Okay, growing up in the 7th year is in terms of Kedushat Shvit. When I'll collect it in the 8th year, there's no problem with Kedushat Shvit, but there's a bigger problem, which is what's called Isur Sfichim, that I'll explain it later, which is a big problem regarding vegetables, okay? But in terms of what defines it as a vegetable, of the identity of the vegetable, is it a vegetable of 6th year, of 7th year, or of 8th year? The identity is defined by the minute of the collecting, regardless of, that's regarding vegetables. However, regarding fruit, and that's what I said last week, and standing behind that statement, I'll say the little thing that I think that might have been misleading, I'll speak about it in 30 seconds. But fruit, the defining moment is not the collecting, but what we call chanata. Yeah, there are some disputes about what is the exact definition of chanata. Is it like Rashi when the flower goes away and there is starting to be a fruit, or Rambam 1/3 some growing was done? At the end of the day, we're all not. I don't know. I'm not a farmer. I have to be honest with you, and I'm relying on the tables that are published and that will be available for all of us. Tables that are in the web and in other. Okay, and if any one of you will have a problem, as the last Shmita, I helped some people when they asked for access for this table or another. So since just as I was able to teach myself how to record a Zoom session, I didn't know it before Corona, like most of us. So, I learned it. So, a little search on the Google and on the web, and in general, what we call Torah Land website, Machon HaTorah VeHaaretz, they have tables all the time. Yeah, but if there are going to be any problems, I'll help. But these tables will tell us all kinds of things, meaning what dates do I expect to find fruit that are in this status, or vegetables that are in this status, and I'll explain the principles. I'll explain soon.
I thought that once it's on the tree,
Yeah.
then you can pick it any time, and it's not until next year as fruit starts growing that you have to worry
Here is what I answered David last week, and that I will now make more accurate. In the beginning of the Shmita year, we won't have problems with the fruit. Okay, why? Because is it called blossoming, the chanata? The blossoming was done, even though it was collected on the Shvit, the blossoming was done on the Shishit, okay, on the 6th year. Consequently, we will deal definitely with issues regarding fruit also in the 8th year. That's the other side of the coin, because the blossoming was done on Shvit. There is a machloikis though, which is not that practically makes a big difference. I'll explain why, but there is a machloikis whether the blossoming, let's say theoretically, I'm saying, let's say some fruit's blossoming was after Rosh Hashanah of Shvi'it, but before Tu B'Shvat of Shvi'it. Okay, you understand? I don't think there's so many of that kind, because usually the blossoming season is not that area between Rosh Hashanah and Tu B'Shvat. That's why it's more of a theoretical problem. But I just want to clarify, and again, we'll all rely on the tables, but I want to explain the logic. The Rach, Rabbeinu Hananel, is saying that Tu B'Shvat is the one that is the thing that counts. However, the Rambam, and that's how we rule, and that's what I want to clarify, because I think maybe I was misleading even regarding that point. The Rambam, and that's how we rule, says that even though, as I explain every year in Tu B'Shvat, the Tu B'Shvat counts really for Meiser, okay? But Rambam says regarding Shmita, what counts is the 1st of Tishrei, also regarding that. Meaning, according to Maimonides, a fruit that the blossoming was in Tishrei, okay, then it will be a Shmita fruit, okay? According to the Rach, no, only if the blossoming was after Tu B'Shvat. By the way, the one that is lenient here will be stringent, meaning there is also a flip side of the coin. If the fruit was blossoming after Rosh Hashanah of the 8th year, so according to the Rambam, it's not a Shemitah fruit, and according to the Rach, it will be a Shemitah fruit, because Tu B'Shvat is the thing that counts. At the end of the day, the bottom line is we follow the blossoming and not the collecting, and that's the main point here. That's the practical, because this case of blossoming between Rosh Hashanah and Tu B'Shvat is rare, practically. what counts is the blossoming, and it's Aleph Tishrei till Aleph Tishrei. And practically, we will deal with issues about fruit only later in the year. That's all. Okay, that's because of that. Yes.
Will there be a difference in the tables? Some tables that are put out, those were into one Shmita, other tables, those were other Shmita, some tables be more machmir.
Okay. Even the question here of what is called the chumrah and a kula, as you know, is in dispute. Meaning even the term machmir here is a problematic. Because one is machmir regarding one aspect and another claims that he's more machmir regarding the other aspect. Okay, so let's now, I generally think that people can invite each other. Yeah, and there won't be corona issues, hopefully. That in terms of difference, and if I understood your question correctly, when you said different in what? No, I think the charts are generally that's what I thought tables. Okay, so I totally misunderstood your question. Yeah. So I didn't understand your question. The charts, I think the charts and the tables they're. I don't think there are major differences here. It's pretty much no one invents here the wheel. It's pretty much accepted. At any rate, now, what is let's when I want to buy fruits and vegetables in Shmita, what are my options? What are the things that I should pay attention to? Okay. So, I started speaking about what is holy in Kedushat Shvi'it and what is not. The relevance of this is only regarding certain amounts of produce, not a lot of them. Okay, and I'll explain. It's first of all relevant, and that's why I opened Dafka with it. Regarding those, and that was the connection to the last week's shir. Those people here who do have some fruits in their garden, so they should pay attention to the issue of Kedushat Shvi'it, of course. Now I'll explain what does it mean to pay attention to Kedushat Shvi'it regarding running the kitchen. Also, if we buy produce from what's called Otzar Beidin, there definitely we need to keep with what we buy and what we eat and what we consume, Kedushat Shvi'it. Yeah, these are the two places that Kedushat Shvi'it is mainly relevant. Okay, these two things that I took it from my own field and that I bought it from Otzar Beidin. Now, what is Otzar Beidin in a nutshell? Otzar Beidin is that there is a Tosefta that says that people that at a certain point of time, and Tosefta, as you know, is an external Tanaic source, okay? Meaning this thing doesn't even appear in the Mishnah, doesn't appear in the Babylonian Talmud, doesn't appear in the Jerusalem Talmud, doesn't appear in the Rambam. The only place that this thing appears in, is written, is in the Tosefta. So the Tosefta says that at a certain point of time, Beidin were sitting in the entrances of the villages, and if they were seeing people with packs of fruit, and they would tell them, hello, please have only the amount you need now for, let's say, daily consumption, and the rest we're storing. Furthermore, the Otzar Beidin, what's even more relevant for us, the Beidin were hiring workers to collect, let's say, grapes and make out of them wine, and then they would store the wine, to collect figs and make from them dried fig, to collect olives and make from them oil, all of that produce they were storing. And what were they doing with all this storing? They were every week distributing to the people in the cities. And the idea here, you understand that it's really a certain way of what is their idea of Shmita, that the field belongs to everyone, right? And therefore, I'm not the owner. The private owner is no longer the owner. But we send the people. We just allow the people to collect, but not a lot, because it's not for. It says le'ochla for eating, and not le'schora, and not for merchant. Le'ochla, meaning that the fruit is designated for eating and not for business, for eating and not for medication, making out of the thing, but for eating and not for hefsed. That's the Kedusha Shvit that we're trying that it won't be destroyed, okay? Lost. So the original, when you read the Torah, just the picture is that people are just coming every now and then and collecting for their eating, okay? Now, in terms of, let's say, oil, dry figs, wine, it's not that way done. So they did it in a certain organized way, okay? But it's the same idea, because now Beit-Din are like the Klal Yisrael, and they're distributing it for the people. So that is very close to the idea of the Shmita of the Torah. It's just a little reorganization of it. Furthermore, some rabbis claimed, and I think there's a lot of logic in that claim, that actually that's the most appropriate way to connect the Shmita nowadays, because nowadays we don't have many farmers. We just have big fields out there. It's not practical that I will wake up every morning in the Shmita, will drive 1 hour, collect 8 apples, drive an hour back. Then tomorrow I'll also do that. In nowadays society, this is not practical. However, if I have a certain Beit-Din that represents the Klal Yisrael and then distributes, okay, that means. So that is why Rav Kook, later on the Chazon Ish was a very big supporter of Otzar Beit-Din. That was his take for Shmita, okay? And despite the fact that there are very serious rabbis that are asking serious questions about Otzar Beit-Din, it needs to be said. It's mentioned in the Tosefta. We didn't see that anyone rules it halachically, not Babylonian Talmud, not Jerusalem, not Rambam. So the Chazon Ish and other important rabbis that are supporter of Otzar Beit-Din, like Rav Yaakov Ariel, Machon Torah V'Aretz, a lot of rabbis are supporters of Otzar Beit-Din, so they have good answers for that. I won't get very good answers for that. But that was one claim. But there's some more serious claims about the fact that we actually took what was written in the Tosefta and we enlarged it very much. Because now, who are the workers? There it was said that the Beit-Din were hiring workers to do that, to go to the field. Who is the worker that we're hiring? Well, it's the original owner that signs a contract with the Beit-Din. So isn't it a little bit of a halachic trick? Because the original owner, okay, so every year he was working and selling as an owner. Now he's doing it as a messenger, as an agent of Beit-Din. Fine, but you understand that it's a little different than what was described there. But that I think could be solved because these farmers, they're great farmers. They want to keep Shmita. And therefore they're following the directions of Beit-Din in terms of doing the mutter works and not doing the non-mutter works. Okay? And very, very important, these fruit have Kedusha Shvit. That's a very big thing in my humble eyes. Okay? It's not an obstacle. It's an excitement. That's how I see it. I'll get back to that. So, okay. Okay, I'm getting there. So that is a big. So there. there are pros for Otzar Beidin. Some of the people that are reserved, they're saying, you know, you need to rely on so many kulot in regarding what to work, leniencies regarding what to work, what the proper words, all kinds of leniencies that the Chazon Ish creatively invented, and let's say Rav Kook didn't agree with. I won't get into, and others. So aren't you really losing what you gained by relying on Otzar Beidin? And the most pressing problem is what you raised up, is the fact that if the Otzar Beidin, that's what Rav Melamed is most concerned with, if the Otzar Beidin ends up being sold in a higher price than a regular fruit in the market, isn't that counter, not only counter, but counter the whole idea? The whole idea was that I have here an organization that distributes. Now, you're allowed, now look, it is okay that we pay for it, because we don't pay for the fruit. Actually, there's an isser to do business with the fruit. We're paying for the costs of the delivery, for the costs of the farmer that is working there. That's totally legitimate. Yeah, to compensate the farmer. It says in the Tosefta that they paid the workers that collected the fruit. That's said there, because they paid them for collecting. They didn't pay them for the actual produce. So all of this is okay. So to your question, yes, we buy in Otzar Beidin, let's say wine that is written there, Otzar Beidin and Kadosh B'Kedushat Shvi, or other fruit in the Shmita stores that it's Otzar Beidin, titled that it's Otzar Beidin. We buy them. Sometimes, by the way, the fruit are a bit less good than regular fruit, because not every work was allowed in the field, was allowed in doing these fruit. And yet still, for me, they're more tasty because they have Kedushat Shvi. Excuse me for saying that. Or not excuse me, I really believe in it. I'll get to that more again later. But sometimes the produce will be a little less quality, not always. Many times it's in the same quality. At any rate, the fact that we're paying for it is not a big deal, because I explained what's the justification for paying. The problem is when the price is higher, which could definitely happen. Why? Here, Rav Melamed, the little capitalist, comes out and he says, you know, if you promise a farmer a set salary, because that's the read, you don't want any relationship between the amount of fruit sold, because you're not paying him for the fruit, you're paying him for the work, right? So if there is a set salary, then it will be less effective, and the whole cost of this whole organization of the Otzar Beidin, whatever. It turns out that sometimes the cost is higher, and then it's counterintuitive, because the whole purpose is that you're. So here, some rabbis say, you know what, it's higher and it's still very good. I mean, of course, we prefer to reduce the price, and it will be lower than the price of the regular market, and by that it will be illustrated that it's still a very nice eatery. Okay. Others, like Rav Melamed, says no. If it's higher, then I prefer Heter Mechir in such a case. That's Rav Melamed.
Higher than what? Higher than the regular price.
Higher than, let's say, it's counter, the other fruit now. Okay, now I'm talking about a regular now. At the end of the day, to sum it up, there will be now. Okay, now I need to after I explain the problems, I need to make some propaganda for Otzar Beidin, as I myself. I'm not. I like buying Otzar Beidin. Okay, I feel that what Otzar Beidin. Otzar is a storage of Beidin. What? The Heksher, you see who is the Otzar Beidin there. There is the Otzar Beidin of this group, and the Otzar Beidin of this group. But now I want to get Otzar Haaretz. What? Okay, and fruit in the middle of the year, the middle of Shmita. the middle of Shmita. Okay, so, okay. By the way, no, but vegetable, by the way, there might be vegetables of Otzar Beidin in the beginning of the year. In the beginning of the year, you'll have vegetables of Otzar Beidin, so that's relevant.
Onions and potatoes are gathered ahead of time, not right away.
That's true, but let's say tomatoes, you could have, you will have in the real beginning of the year, you'll have some vegetables of Otzar Beidin. Afterwards, you won't. Ask me why. After all, a vegetable that is collected, let's say in Nisan, why can't it be Otzar Beidin? It can't because of the Gzeira of Sfichim, meaning that everything that could have been planted in the seventh year, and it's annual and not perennial, okay, that i.e. vegetables, okay, then the Otzar Beidin doesn't solve that problem. That's why Otzar Beidin, as Kurt said, is mainly a solution for fruit, okay, and that will be only in the middle of the year. However, it is a solution in the beginning of the year, in the real beginning of the year, when you attribute the planting to, when you relate the planting to the sixth year, okay, here Otzar Beidin, you will see some I guess vegetables that are Otzar Beidin. Okay, I'll just complete this explanation, and I'll just say that when, let's say, I was in the previous Shmita, I had the honor to run a panel that Rav Yuda Amichai, the head of Machon Torah Va'aretz, was one of the speakers. Rav Shlomo Levi, the head of the Halacha Kollel in the Gush. Rav Rosen, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the head of the Tzomet Institute, and Rabbi Meir Neorai, who is a rabbi of the kibbutz. Okay, and they were discussing the different solutions regarding and the different halachic opportunities, produce in Shmita, and pros and cons. And Rav Amichai was very quiet. He just said, I'll say it in Hebrew, Ani ma'adif lalechet im kedusha. I prefer to go with the kedusha, and I like that statement. I take it. I think that, first of all, I'm closest to the idea of Shmita with Otzar Beidin. It's the closest thing to the idea of Shmita, that the fruit is of everyone, and that's why, or the vegetables in the beginning of the year, and that's why I personally and I also want to support Jewish farmers in terms of being concerned how to keep the Kedusha Shvit. Again, I think that we should. The general vision is that we want to. I'm not even talking about the Megillat Esther in the opinion of the Ramban that says that there is a mitzvah in eating fruit of Shvit, because according to Moshe there is no mitzvah in it. He thinks there is, but I'm mamish making a mitzvah every time that I eat but I'm definitely doing what the fruit were designated to in the Torah, and I'm coming closer to Hashem by that, and I shouldn't be afraid of all the I shouldn't see it as an obstacle or something that I have to be very careful from this terrible God that will punish me. Shmita is the Rabbanan, and there are good solutions how to keep Kedushat Shvit and available ones, and I have an opportunity to keep Kedushat Shvit. My kids accuse me generally that I have a halachic OCD. It's regarding all kinds of things. It's regarding lighting Hanukkah candles on time. It's regarding all kinds of issues. They say, Abba, you have a halachic OCD. Of course, they say it with love, but they do say it. And one of their examples, that's why I'm mentioning it here, is that they see that when I eat fruits that are holy in Kedushat Shvit, that I really try to consume all of them more than a regular year. Let's say there is a garin, how do you say garin? Pit, seed. So I really try to finish the most I can. And they sometimes, and they see that on the plate, I try to finish the most I can. And they say that's halachic OCD. Now, maybe they're right. And you'll see that don't need to be crazy about it. But I'll tell you the truth here. In this case, I'm doing it out of passion, out of love. I'm excited that I have produce that is done by a Jewish farmer who kept Shvit, and that thing has a Kedusha Shvit, has a status. How many opportunities how many mitzvahs of eating do we have b'chlal now when we don't have offerings? Matzah. I mean, we don't have, and here I have such an opportunity. I love that opportunity. I'm doing it out of love. And of course, people shouldn't be crazy. If something is left on the gareen, one can be lenient with it. I must, excuse me, I'll answer all the questions, but a question was asked here before the recording was on. What's the difference between Otsar Beidin and Otsar Ha'aretz? Okay, and I want to explain. First of all, again, I'm not neutral, though you don't need to accept my opinion. Let's say Rav Melamed, a very respected rabbi, he would say if the Otsar Beidin's produce is more expensive, halachically, I think that Heter Mechira is better. Rav Yoshua ben Meir thinks generally the Heter Mechira is better. These are all serious rabbis. However, there is a big group of rabbis that think that Otsar Beidin is a preferable thing for halachic reasons and for the reasons that I just mentioned. And I go with that. Okay. Now, Otsar Ha'aretz. What is Otsar Ha'aretz? Otsar Ha'aretz is a certain organization that was founded something like 21 years ago, or maybe more even. Again, by Rabbi Yaakov Ariel, Rabbi Israeli was involved back then. People were, and it combines several solutions. Otsar Beidin is one of them. But as I said, and as of course, Otsar Beidin, let's say, doesn't give a solution for most of the vegetables, only for vegetables at the beginning of the Shmita. But then you have a whole lot of time that Otsar Beidin is not a solution for vegetables at all. Okay? So here, what are our options regarding vegetables? Okay? So our options are, you mentioned there are things that are produce of the sixth year, things that were stored, of course. That is no problem. Yeah. So things that were Yevul, will be called Yevul Shishit, produce of the sixth year. These are things that Otsar Ha'aretz stores or providers will sell. And by the way, Otsar Ha'aretz, let's say in Chezi's store, that he was an agent of Otsar Ha'aretz. So it was labeled. It was said, this thing is Otsar Beidin. So you knew that you need to keep Kedusha for it. I'll explain how soon. But there was an understanding that if I buy produce that is Otsar Beidin, that was labeled Otsar Beidin, under the auspices of Otsar Ha'aretz, okay? But that was the Otsar Beidin branch of Otsar Ha'aretz. Again, Otsar means in Hebrew storage, yeah. And Otsar Beidin is the storage of Beidin. Otsar Ha'aretz is just that's the name that they coined now. The storage of produce of Jews with chumras of Shmita. Okay, Otsar Beidin is one example of it. Now, produce of the sixth year that could be sold as Otsar Ha'aretz, and it will be labeled Yevul Shishit. Okay, will be doesn't have Kedusha, of course. All right, now I have, there'll be some other things that will be offered, okay? Because the tomatoes will not be stored from the sixth year, right? I assume. All right, so, and the tomatoes pretty soon, after the Shmita starts, Otsar Beidin is not a solution for them, okay? So it's not a valid halachic solution for them. So what are the options? Here we go to last week's shir. There are some farmers, Jewish farmers, I don't know if it's regarding tomatoes, but it's regarding other vegetables, maybe also regarding, I think regarding tomatoes too, by the way, if I just, they do what's called in Hebrew matzah menutak. What is that? If there is a roof, and also it's not connected to the ground at all, they grow vegetables that way and sell them. These things don't have a kedushat shvit. You're allowed to do it because it's in the house. And the Chazon Ish said it, as I said, even though I said that for home purposes, I recommend not to plant during the Shmita under a roof and in atzit sheino nakuv, but it's really a chumrah. The Chazon Ish said it's okay. So definitely for these purposes, for farmers, etc., and for us to buy, it's okay. So that is also a valid halachic solution. Matzah menutak. Otzar haaretz, I'm getting that. Otzar haaretz will sell produce that is from that kind. Okay, and that will not be otzar beidin, and will still be otzar haaretz. Again, in the stores of otzar haaretz, you'll have a clear labeling, and of course, you could ask also the salesman. Tell me, what is this? Otzar beidin? Is it a produce of the 6th year, or not? Actually, in terms of kedushat shvit, what counts for you is only if it's otzar beidin. You don't care really if it's a produce of the 6th year, or it grew up in the way that I said, meaning that it's a roof, and it was like in a planter, in a big planter. Okay. Either way, on the one hand, the common denominator, okay, is that you didn't rely on the heter mechira. Okay, heter mechira is that this halachic heter that Rav Kook, he didn't start it, started it people before him. Heter mechira is what the chief rabbinate, based on Rav Kook, and as a national solution, needs to be said. Rav Ovadia supported it. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach supported it. Chazon Ish was very against it. That's true. Okay, so heter mechira is that we're selling the whole land of Israel, or the fields. We're selling to the farmers are signing a contract that they participated in, and by the way, that improved many of the halachic foundations of it. So some of the claims of the Chazon Ish against are not valid anymore. Needs to be said. It was much more improved halachically, the heter mechira. At any rate, the idea is that the land is sold for the 7th and the 8th year. Yeah, it's a temporary selling, very, very important. Okay, and by that, there's no kedushat shvit. Rav Kook was machmir to have, but there's no kedushat shvit, and also the isurim, yeah, all the prohibitions don't apply. Okay, to that, because it's a land of a goy and not a land of a Jew. Does it allow a Jew to plant in the field? Rav Kook said no, and therefore he said that that job that goyim will do. Practically nowadays, that's usually what happens. Not only in Shmita, in what? Yeah, that the goyim are planting it, so it's a land of a goy, and the goys are planting it. So it doesn't matter. At any rate, those who don't want to rely, want to be machmer and not rely on heter mechira, on the one hand, but also don't want to buy produce of Gentiles, definitely Gentiles that are here, meaning that are competing with meaning not stopping to support Jewish farmers and moving our support to Gentile farmers. So for all, and furthermore, see, the halachic objection to heter mechira, one of them is that you're giving, why not sell a land to a goy, generally? The verse is lo techonem, don't give them foothold in the land. But tachlis, what they saw, Rav Kook, that if I won't do heter mechira, that is the thing that will give the goyim, the footland. So it's even it's against the whole idea of the whole Isser. So that's at the end of the day. If I don't want to rely on Heter Mechira, and I don't want to rely, and I don't want to buy just Gentiles produce, and I want to support Jewish farmers, so Otzar Haaretz, that's the idea of it, to combine many halachic solutions that will fit that goal. Yeah. So I am so I answered. Otzar, if I go to Osher Ad, okay, that's one name, Osher Ad, right? How do I know if there's Kedushat Shvit or not? Answer. So it's the same answer. Otzar Haaretz is a big thing. So either it's labeled, and if it's not labeled, so Davka, since it's not Osher Ad, but a little shot with someone that received it and knows what came from where. So you ask him, is it Otzar Beidin or not? That's the only question that counts whether we'll have Kedushat Shvit. Kedushat Shvit is Otzar Beidin. That's all. That's all. Now, Rav Kook had a chumrah also to keep Kedushat Shvit on Heter Mechira, but we don't need to do that, and we're not doing that. Chazon Ish and Bnei Brak ruled that produce of Gentiles has Kedushat Shvit, but all the rabbis of Jerusalem and Bechlal disagreed with it. So I'm here saying and that's the way I will act. I'm not just telling you guys this and I will do the chumrah. I will keep Kedushat Shvit only on things that I take from my tree and Otzar Beidin. Okay, simple as that. Yes. Right. They're all. I'm not going into the. If I look, believe me, I can give you now a 5, and I'm not exaggerating because I did this research not only 7 years ago. I did this research towards this Shmita too, and I'm now after hours of studying it, and I can tell you all the details of Heter Mechira, the pros and cons of Otzar Beidin, the pros and cons of Heter Mechira, the pros, and then we won't get with it. We need to. We'll leave these questions to the Mincha Maariv Shurim, where I go more in depth regarding these things. I mean, in my daily between Mincha Maariv in Hebrew, I address it. Yeah. Yes. So I'll answer that because I started outlining what I do. What I want to do now is to finish quickly the different produces that we have, because I still didn't mention one or two. Okay, and then I'll have to address how to keep Kedushat Shvit in my kitchen. Okay, so this is a very big focus in this year. So regarding, I just want to add another thing that Otzar Haaretz will combine, aside from all of the things that and by the way, okay, is produce that is coming from the southern Negev or Arava, okay? Because what's the point here? According to many opinions, these places don't have Kedushat Eretz Israel. They're definitely Israel, don't get me wrong, but they technically don't have Kedushat Eretz Israel for the laws of Shmita. And therefore, I can buy from Jewish farmers things that are from there. What Otzar Haaretz will usually do, and Rav Rimon is pretty makpid on this, that on top of that, there will be Heter Mechira, meaning Southern Arava plus Heter Mechira. So why not just take Heter Mechira from a field in Rehovot? The answer is, and it's a good answer, that many of the objections to Heter Mechira regarding the rest of Israel don't apply there. meaning that heter mechira is a much better heter in these places. Okay, so even someone that is machmer not to rely on heter mechira, generally here, definitely in that combination of a ravadromit plus heter mechira, that's a heater, that's a safe thing. Okay, I will still prefer meat for otsar beidin and matzah minuta. Okay, but I'll go there. Okay, yes. What? Otsar art.
Are you saying that the produce that comes from southern Negev or Arava is also heter mechira?
So it's whether otsar arts themselves do it, meaning the double thing. I'll need to inquire the otsar arts people to find that out. Right. You're right. I think it is, but I need to check. Okay, but no, but she says whether this arava has also heter mechira. You have what you're allowed to buy the arava, even if it's not with heter mechira. Okay, but the otsar arts, in general, otsar arts are the idea, as I said, is to bring Jewish produce that is mehudar. Okay, in terms of Shmita. Now, also last thing regarding otsar arts is that what they send me today with the SMS and what they you could, of course, you could buy it. You can buy it to the store and buy it, but what they suggest, and actually I'm for it, is to pay in advance. Now, you estimate how much money you will use during a month. They give you some, and they send you now when it's all digital. They send you a certain coupon per month. If you didn't use the money in 1 month, it will carry on to the next month. Now, the gain is also in terms of the chora and perot shvit. Okay, again, not that it's required, but it's also a certain halachic gain. But I think the main gain is that this whole institution of otsar beidin needs to have some secure, some security in terms of money. And if you want to support it, that's a way to support it. Okay, because that way they can predict how much to pay the farmers and all of these things, all of these organizational things. So here, first of all, look, here I must say that there was a difference between 14 years ago Shmita and 7 years ago Shmita. By the way, to the better. Meaning 14 years ago, I wasn't here, I was in Memphis, Tennessee, honest disclosure. But the reports that I got that otsar art at a certain time pretty much collapsed, bankruptcy, whatever. There was a big, well, again, I don't know if it's otsar arts or other things. There were, however, last 7 years ago, there was no such thing. No, but I don't remember 7. I don't know. I was a customer 7 years ago, and I don't remember a substantial problem 7 years ago in terms of. That's a different story. But I think that I had from Chezi Otsar Aretz. I have to say, last Shmita, as far as my memory goes, I had the produce from Chezi Otsar Aretz. What I remember all Shmita. Oh, okay, now, but I'll get to George's question. I just need. Yeah, there is now delivery options in Otsar. That's what they publish all the time. Okay, now that's true. That's true. Now I have to say that the question whether to, and that's a very common question. What I prefer, Rabbi, what I prefer? Okay, I was trying Otzar Haaretz, whatever. And again, I just say, there's some rabbis that will disagree with me and say that you should prefer Heter Mechira over Otzar Haaretz. Serious rabbis. But okay, let's go with my way that I prefer Otzar Haaretz over Heter Mechira. But at the end of the day, Rabbi, if my only choice is Palestinian, Jordanian, whatever, produce, or Heter Mechira, I have an answer. Heter Mechira. Now, what? Oh, okay. Now, I have an answer. Heter Mechira. The Heter Mechira is a Heter, as I said, that not only Rav Kook and Rav Yitzchak Elchanan, inspector, Shlomo Zalman supported, Rav Ovadia supported, meaning I think that and it was very much improved. Rabbi Whiteman improved it a lot in terms of the overcoming some many halachic obstacles about it. Furthermore, there's some problems with halachic problems with Otzar Beirin that serious rabbis, as I told you, claim that Heter Mechira is even better than that. So I really think so. I'm very shalom with it. That I remember years ago, not 2 Shmitas ago, when I was a young man, a few years after I got married, I happened to be in the shul, at that time, the shul of my in-laws in the center in Katamon. And the rabbi of the shul is Rabbi Aryeh Stern, the chief rabbi of Jerusalem. And I remember how he spoke strongly. Chevre, Shvi'it bazman hazeh de Rabbanan. Shmita is the Rabbanan. It's not even a Deoraita. And he spoke strongly about to stop the craziness around the Heter Mechira in terms of the ability to rely on it. And I agree. I only say that I prefer to go with the Kedusha when I'm able to do that, or other Hidur halachic solutions like Matzah Menutak, etc. Even then when they're a little more expensive, but again, I don't go into the pocket of a person. I really think that, let's say a person tells me, you know what, Rabbi, very nice, but I see that Heter Mechira is much cheaper than Matzah Menutak. Okay, the atitzi, what I said, things that are no. But I see that it's much more expensive, and I have I'll tell them to buy Heter Mechira. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a hero here at pressing people to lose their money because of a Hebrew. Okay, so now, one asterisk here. Look, we don't need to be hypocrites here. That's the other side of the coin. If for 6 years out of 7, I buy produce of Gentiles, and that is the main produce that is in the market, okay? And that's what people ordinarily buy. And all of a sudden, then the Shmita said, no. We are not buying any imported, let's say imported fruit, if we don't want to be political, okay? Imported fruit from Gentiles. No, I don't want to buy Yavul Nochrim, produce of Gentiles. But tachlis, this is what is sold all the time. If this is what is sold all the time, then in my eyes, it's fine. My only concern when I say prefer Heter Mechira over Yavul Nochrim is when that is making a difference in terms of now I'm shrinking the Jewish farmers and what they regularly sell, and I'm all of a sudden increasing the market of the importers or the locals, whatever. But if this is not the case, then this is not the case. Okay, so that's my asterisk. Now, with your permission, first of all, any questions now? Because there were. No, they can just survive because they're, or even benefit. Okay, when a Jewish farmer signed on heter mechira, then as long as he is makpid on some things, like let's say it's better that he won't plant, but that Thailandim will plant, which is usually what happens anyhow, and some other things, then he just lives normally as he lived in the 5th year and in the 4th year. Okay, that's what the heter mechira does. Okay, now of course, if no one will buy from him, then he won't survive. Okay, so yeah. Yes, I think it's fair. Look, both cases are ha'arama, what's called halachic trick. Rav Kook addresses this matter in his book, and it is ha'arama in both cases, and both of these ha'aramot, halachic tricks, were not mentioned in the original sources as a common use, but reality caused halachis to use that lacoon, if you want to say, but the lacoon was prepared by God. That's the difference between when there is a legal lacoon in a law that was made by lacuna, loophole. When there is a legal loophole, in a law that was legislated by people, then what we do is that we gather and we fix it. Here, if the loophole was done, so perhaps it was done so in order that in one generation that when there'll be a need for it, it will be used. And having said that, because there are some halachic problems with the heter mechira, and because some people say, how do you know that the reality now is the same as the reality of Rav Kook? Some people say it's even stronger. Now there is expert, whatever, some that. There are all kinds of discussions about it. That's why I said, and that's the home I grew up in. I have to say it's also a matter of traditions and homes. Yeah, I grew up in a house of Painikim, where Shmita was a Pai, Pole Agudat Yisrael, where the keeping the Shmita was one of the flags, but okay. So that's my answer regarding that. I think that look, all of these questions are very good questions in terms of principle, like what Menachem asked me about and all this. But I think that I see the time. We must deal with how practically we keep Kedushat Shvit in our house. Okay, for those. And as we said, there is not so much produce that it is, okay? Just to clarify what we're talking about. But as I say, the things that I got from my own trees, the things that I bought from Otzar Baden. Okay, so the main principle is that it's designated for eating and not for other purposes, okay? Therefore, first of all, when I consume, and B'chlal, it's maybe a good lesson for life. Not to have to big eyes and put a lot on the plate and then I'm stuck with the leftovers, but rather to try to estimate. I think that it really puts it in the spirit of Kedushat Shvit, yeah? There is here food, I'm eating from the ownership of Hashem, because the fruit in the 7th year belongs to Hashem, and he just invited all Am Yisrael to take from the fruit, and I treat it that way, respectfully. Okay, so I don't have big eyes. Still, there could be leftovers, of course. So what do I do with the leftovers? So what? Here. So if you will say Pach Shmita, who will yell at you? Rav Rimon. Educationally, of course. Don't call it Pach Shmita. Call it Kli L'Kedushat Shvi'it. Okay? Educationally. Right there. Kedushat Shvi'it. Don't write Shmita garbage can. Okay? Okay? Better? So that's one. All right. Kedushat Shvi, and not Pach Shmita. So that's Rav Rimon. He taught us that. Okay, my friend Rav Rimon. By the way, between the two classes, meaning last week's and this week, my friend Rav Rimon was hired to be the regional Rav of Moetzet Gush Etzion, Gush Etzion Council. Okay, and we all gave him brachot, our little group from the yeshiva. So, now with WhatsApp, it's so simple. So, at any rate, so first of all, you should know, Rav Rimon says it, Rav Melamed even says it stronger. Really, it's possible even without the special container. You're able to take the leftovers, to put them in a bag, in a how do you call it? Plasma? No, I don't know. You got close it and put it in the regular garbage can. It's fine. It's why double bag? So first of all, they don't mention double bag here. They don't mention it. I assume it's a reality question. I'll explain to you. What do I want? What do I want to achieve? Let's understand the principle. I want that I won't waste the fruit or the food that has Kedushat Shvi.
You don't want to mix it.
And therefore, if I mix it with regular garbage, what happens? What happens is not only the actual throwing it to the garbage that I kind of demonstrate that it's garbage, but because that could be solved, by the way, halachically. The problem is that since it touches and that expedites its being ruined. Okay, now it makes faster the fact that it will be spoiled if I put it in the garbage. Now, if I wrapped it, okay, then it's not influenced by the surrounding, and therefore it's fine that I kept it holy. Okay, so therefore, tachlis, if you don't have now the container, you're stuck, you're in a different place, whatever. This is a thing that could be done. Wrapping and putting it in the garbage. Okay. Of course, something that is nicer in a way, is that I have a container in my home. Okay. Of course, Rav Rimon accordingly suggests that it won't be located right by the garbage can. Okay. Though again, maybe practically sometimes that's what we're gonna do. Okay. And I put there the leftovers. But what I should do there, let's say I put a leftover. Let's say I put a leftover of Kedushat Shvi 2 days ago. Now it became already, spoiled. And now I put a new leftover. So I'll have a problem. So that's why Rav Rimon and others are Rav Melamed, each one in his own way. They're saying, you start a meal, put not something, it's not that hard. We all have it. After Corona, we have it even more. These paper, how do you call it? Paper towels. So you take a paper towel and put it on top, and now you'll put the new thing over the paper towel. It's fine. Okay. So that is how you keep Kedushat Shvi. It's not that hard. And also you don't need to be crazy. And here I'm going, I'm going back to the halachic OCD. So you don't need to be with the halachic OCD here at all, even though my kids claim that I have it. But you don't need, let's say something was left on the pit. If it's something substantial, okay, then you need to keep Kedushat Shvi to it. But if it's something that is regularly staying there and no one really goes to eat it, then me'ikar adin, you could throw it to the regular garbage. If you want to be a big tzaddik, wrap it and put it in the garbage can. That's fine. Okay. Now, of course, there is soup and there is a cholent. Okay, I'll address these, but Yeah, Chava. Huh? Wine, what?
The wine that's judged me.
And when you-
Up over the bottle.
Okay, then what happened? Then what happened? Then what happened? Then what happened? Did you do something intentionally? What happened? What happened if I turned on the light on Shabbos and I didn't mean to do it? So if it's Avi Kanai with a halachic OCD, I'm really sorry that one of my kids wasn't here present in your question, because that's exactly what they accuse me about. That when I see that some of the wine of Kedushat Shvi'it is spilled, then I try still to benefit from it and to eat it. The question is, Chava, the question is, do your best, okay? Treat it as a wine that is kadosh b'kedushat shvi'it. Whatever you're able to drink, somehow drink. Whatever you're not able to drink, try to keep kedushat shvi'it the best you can. And whatever that is not possible, then halachically it's okay that you're not keeping kedushat shvi'it. I just want to give you, to illustrate that point, Rav Israeli has an opinion. We're not relying on it, okay? But Rav Israel was a very serious rabbi. And he thought that something that you're not intending to eat, meaning a leftover that one is not intending to eat, doesn't have bichlal, it's not a problem, okay? So let's not be hysterical here. We're doing our best, and whatever is not possible is not possible. I put it in the laundry, okay? After I try to do my best in treating this wine differently than a regular wine that spilled over the whatever. And I try, of course, not to spill it as much as I can. I'm careful to begin with, knowing that it's kadosh b'kedushat shvi'it. But for this reason, will I not buy a wine that is no? I will buy. Okay, Havdalah. Just since you mentioned the wine, Havdalah, I will be careful not to spill over. It's a minhag to spill over. Okay, this wine has kedushat shvi'it. I love doing Havdalah in a wine that has kedushat shvi'it, and I won't spill the wine over. And if I'll spill the wine over, then I'll drink it. Of course, I'll have to remember not to extinguish what I always automatically do. Okay, but if I'll be careful not to extinguish it by the wine, there's no problem that I will spill and drink the whatever I spill. Or I won't spill to begin with. Or let's say in Leila Seder, as it's written that we do the Dam Tzfardea. And as Court said, all of what I'm saying now is probably more relevant for, not for this Pesach, but for Ezrat Hashem. Next Pesach, okay? So I won't take the drops of the Dam Tzfardea Kinim with my finger. And by the way, I'll be Yaitza Leila Seder Lehidur, even if I don't do that. Okay? Now I must say that, okay, yeah. Bakasha. Since let's say I have a salad mixed by vegetables that have kedushat shvi'it and vegetables that are not mixed in kedushat shvi'it, you don't need now to sit down and do borer. All the people say that it's fine to, let's say, wrap it and wrap the whole thing and put it in the garbage, or put it in a kedushat shvi'it container. Why? Because the assumption is that it's not that, okay, I have a tomato that is kadosh b'kedushat shvi'it and cucumber, melafifon, that is from Arava Dromit, okay? It's not that one is spoiling the other, that it's terrible that I distribute together. So that is fine.
Can you throw that away, or is there another solution you can find for it?
I want to be sure. I want to be sure that I understood your question. You bought 7. They're all oats are baden. Let's say they're all have kedusha shvit, and then what? Whatever's spoiled. What other solution? Since I don't recommend you to eat them, no, and I don't recommend you to eat them. Again, I want my kids to be here, but I don't recommend you to eat them. So you'll have to wrap them and put them in the Shmita container, and it's all good. I was asked last week about compost. I will speak about it. Like other solutions, there are things. By the way, Rav Rimon is lenient in if that's an option. Okay. Taking some of the things that are kadosh b'kedusha shvit and leftovers and you won't eat them, whatever, or maybe even started to get spoiled, whatever, and putting them in front of animals, but so that the animals will eat. Some were against it, but not to feed directly the animals. That's very important because they're not designated. Look, there is. If the point of Kedusha Shvit that it's designated for human consumption and not for animal consumption, then there is a problem with it. If it's only that it won't be hefsed, then I would say it won't be destroyed. Then I would say better that an animal will eat it, that it will just, So that will be the ramification between the two explanations for Kedusha Shvit that we both find. So as a certain compromise, Rav Rimon said, you know what, you could leave it. Because, if you leave it, then it's the same thing that you do with a Shmita container. And then an animal comes and eat it, that is fine. But to feed them directly with your hand, that's no. Okay? So that's another solution. And compost, I'll explain soon. Yes. What? Pits, I think peels. No, because you said peels and pits. So pits, I already addressed. Peels, very good question. Peels. So here, peels that are edible. Not when I mean edible, I'll give you an example. Let's say carrots, cucumbers, all these are peels. These peels have kedusha shvit. Furthermore, one can even claim, and I think what? Sure. So peels of, let's say, he's just doing his next round. Okay, so it's just a victory circle, So peels of cucumbers, of carrots, of things like that, they have kedusha shvit because people eat them. I eat them. People eat them. What? Banana peels, people eat. People don't eat them. So banana peels, if there's no fruit there, no substantial fruit there, then banana peels don't have kedusha shvit. Yeah, you can throw them to the regular garbage can. Okay. Not things that are also ordinary. Not just that you say I can't eat. Let's say, I don't know. Maybe you can't eat peels. You never eat peels of carrots. The fact that you never eat peels of carrot doesn't make a difference. Okay, so I said banana. Yeah, right. Now, what about orange peels? That's a tricky one because orange peels, people do make out of it sweets, okay, candies, okay, depending where you come from. Okay, so these things, it's better to keep kedusha shvit, okay, the peels, okay, of let's say oranges. B'chlal, since I mentioned oranges, etrog. People, I think, spoke with me about it last week. Etrog, generally we treat it as a fruit. However, some are machmir, they want to treat it as a vegetable, regarding that even collecting it during the Shmita will have a kedusha shvit on this etrog. Now, next year, next year, there will be also chanatayin shvit, so it's not a difference. It could be, as Tammy said, it could be a difference for this year. Many of the etrogim, though, were collected before Rosh Hashanah, so it's fine. Those that will be collected in Rosh Hashanah probably will be labeled that it's kadosh b'kedushat shvit. There's nothing to be nervous about it, because you're allowed to use it for the bracha. Some people even like to use a etrog that is kadosh b'kedushat shvit for lulav. Only you'll need to keep it b'kedusha in terms of how do you put it to waste. I must add some, yeah. What do you want to ask about the vegetables? Because no, not about the etrog. Nachon, 6th-year produce. Yeah, which will be pretty soon. We won't have a long otzar beidim for vegetables. I think there's some more, I believe. You said 6th-year produce, but then you have some more. You have matzah menutak, meaning that you have planters that are in chamama. How do you say chamama? Yeah, planters that are produces of planters with tree house. That's okay. Greenhouse, yeah. And then you have also Arava Domit and Negev Ma'avi, okay. And then you have Heter Mechira and Yavur Nochlim, produce of Gentiles, and okay. So that's what you have for what? I said my general hierarchy is that, but that's mine. Ramon, you could see he gives a hierarchy that he believes in, which, as I said, Rav Melamed will not fully agree with, and other rabbis with a hierarchy from Ramon. My general principle is, okay, I prefer not to rely on Heter Mechira, okay, and I prefer to buy produce from Jews when regular years I bought it from Jews. Okay, these are my principles. What will it mean? It will mean otzar beidin, produce of the 6th year. Okay, matzah, a planter and greenhouse, southern Negev and Arava Domit, and then Heter Mechira, okay, and then Gentiles produce, okay. That's the okay. I think I gave you the. Now I think that we need to address still, and we need to finish also. So I'm addressing the questions regarding, I believe, soup, nachon, and what? Soup, chont, etc., and compost. Again, we need to remember what? Not compote, compost. Not compote. Not compote. Compote is a food, and you treat it like every food. Compost is that some people like for recycling, whatever. They're taking the waste, the garbage, and instead of just throwing it, they're putting it in a certain instrument that does out of it. How do you say? Yeah, but I always say organic fertilizer. Exactly, fertilizer. That's the word that I was looking for. Fertilizer. So here, and some people even like it, say here I'm using a produce of Shmita that it. Now, what do we need to pay attention when we're going in that direction? There are several important things. Just like we said regarding the Shmita container, we don't want the new thing that we put to the compost, to that instrument, that will be spoiled by what's under it, what's around it. So we will have to either put some sand, a certain layer of sand before I put on top of it the new waste, or to wrap it and in a way that doesn't spoil the whole process. And what I read in the Torah Land website and in other books, that it won't if you put, he claimed that he's connected with farmers, some paper. You wrap it with a paper towel, that will be fine. So you have to do that when you put it in the compost. Also, the compost could not be just straight over the land, okay? Because then it seems like you're fertilizing the land during Shmita. You should rather it should be in a certain container, okay, in the side of Gina, or in the house, whatever you do, or in the Gina in a certain kli. Okay, that's the other thing in order for compost. And third thing, of course, is that the fertilizer, you're creating this fertilizer not for the Shemitah itself, because you'll be able to use it only in the 8th year. If you remember last week's shir, I said that we put before Shemitah something that is a long-term, some fertilizers that are being released slowly, so I could put it in the beginning of the Shemitah. So that's regarding that. I was asked last week, so I'm addressing that question. The soup, look, the soup, there's several options. Let's say, what soup am I? A soup that some of it was, where there were vegetables or whatever, or chont, that had Kedushat Shvit. Okay, so what do I do with the leftovers? If there are leftovers, if it's a good chont and a good soup. I'll just give you an example. My wife's soup and my wife's cholent, but mainly my wife's soup, the Friday night soup, there's no problem of Kedushat Shvit. No problem of Kedushat Shvit. Okay, no concern. But let's say in this theoretical case that there are leftovers from the soup and the cholent. So, two options. One option is, again, to put it in a bag, wrap it, and put it in a what? I'm talking about the liquid. I'm talking about the liquid also. I'm talking also about the liquid because the liquid got the taste of the vegetables. So I'm definitely talking about the liquid. Now here, some people say, but then it will be torn and it will spill and all this. First of all, if it happens, it happens. But if you use a better bag, now you shouldn't be concerned that in the garbage, in the garbage truck, there the bag might be torn in this. First of all, usually it doesn't happen, but even if it does, that's a gram. It's mamish okay. It's not something to be concerned. So that's one option, to put it in bag and throw it in the garbage can. Another option, Rav Melamed Dafka is, Rav Melamed mentions it too. He says if you leave it overnight, and then usually people don't want to eat such a soup that was left overnight, then that gave a solution. Some are stringent and want it to be more than that because if it's just overnight, then people still eat it. You guys will, but if toughless, if you leave it, that's another option. Of course, you could do both. You could leave it overnight and then wrap it, and then the cloth. Yeah. Okay. Could be done. Okay, Chevra. Excuse me. What do you? The clear of the Kedushat Shvit. Why? What's your problem? Well, when it's full, of course, yeah. I should have added that. After things after the things of Kedushat Shvit were totally spoiled, you're allowed to throw them away. That's the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah. No, you have to wait a certain amount of time. Yeah, I think you'll see it. I think you'll see it. Rav Melamed thinks there is no preference to this solution or that solution. I think Rav Rimon is more in favor of the container, but I think also for educational reasons. So that's the way I see it. Okay. What? Yeah. There, Rav Rimon presents several opinions. He says that the agreement is that it's southern than the 30-degree Kav Shloshim, it's called. I think that at the end of the day, in terms of let's say you buy from Otzar Aretz, okay? So I could see in the website of Otzar Aretz, what do they consider? And based on that, they decide. It's not that no one will tell you in the label, look, I did it from they'll tell you it's Arava, they'll tell you it's Negev Dormi. And the rabbis that are in charge of that institution, they rely on it. Yeah. The Rosh Hashanah. What? Right. Again, 3 days before Rosh Hashanah, after Rosh Hashanah, again, we'll have the tables, let's say, regarding vegetables. From when do I need to start being concerned about vegetables? The assumption is that the first week, or I don't know, that shortly after Rosh Hashanah, we're still having produce, let's say, that was collected. When you make the meal for the end of Tzom Gedalia, probably it's from vegetables that were collected on the 60th. Okay? All right, I think that will. What it will tell you in this chart, what has Kedushat Shvit, or what you should look if it asks about what vegetables you can't eat because of Isur Skichim. You'll have all these details there. Yeah, one thing I need to mention, and then we'll, Mamash, we need to finish. Bi'ur Shvi'it, meaning the fact that there is a din that after fruits that are Kadosh and Kedushat Shvi'it, after a certain date, you need to be mafkir them. But that is really more a thing that is relevant for next year, and we will talk about it at the, as they say, at the proper. Israel will respond in the. We just heard it 2 days ago when there was some bullets in the south. We will respond at the proper time and location.